I'm Oli Barrett, and over the next few weeks, I'm going to be travelling to meet the chief execs of some of the UK's most successful listed companies. I'm going to find out what drives them, about the challenges they've faced and what they've learned, and most of all, about the impact that they want to have on the world around them. Welcome to the Ambition Nation Listed 50. Today, I'm in conversation with John Rigby, Chief Executive of K3 Capital Group. John, great to meet you.
Good morning.
So tell me a little bit, because it's more than a company, it's a group of companies, right?
It is, yes. K3 Capital is a group of professional services firms that are very much aimed at UK SME. And typically within the fields of M&A, restructuring and tax. Our M&A division is made up of numerous brands, and we are the number one advisor, sell-side advisor in the UK, have been for about 5 years now. So essentially we transact more deals than any other advisor in the UK.
Well, already, by the way, that's pretty broad just in terms of industries, because you're not industry specific in that sense.
No, very much sector agnostic, or we've always been sector agnostic. The Knight CF acquisition was our first foray really into sort of sector specialism, and that is something that we would explore further going forward. We recently added a buy-side service, which is not something we've done before, a business called Market Mapping. That was on the back of the success that we had in finding acquisitions last summer. So Market Mapping is aimed at people like ourselves, PLCs, private equity, family office, serial corporate acquirers, but specifically looking to unearth off-market opportunities rather than buying businesses that are being touted around to all and sundry. So it's what we did last summer. We employed somebody to actually go out there and locate businesses that weren't currently for sale. So typically pricing and commercials can be more favourable in that situation.
Got it. Let's talk a bit more broadly about the group. What else have you got?
Yeah, so our tax division, which we kicked off last summer, initially was Rand. We then added another R&D business called Knight R&D. So those two companies focus on research and development tax advisory to SMEs. So they are essentially claiming back monies under the HMRC, the government scheme, to reward innovation and research and development. For us, a big part of why we acquired that business was to get into that sector was around trying to use our methodologies to go out to UK SME at large and promote those sort of services and offerings. Our third leg was the acquisition of Quantuma last summer, which formed the foundation of our restructuring division. So Quantuma was a multi-office, sort of 17-20 offices across the UK, 270 people. So we went from sort of one office here in Bolton, 150 people as an M&A business, into a group which then had sort of 500 people plus 20 offices UK and overseas.
And the core of Quantuma's business, just remind us.
In terms of their services, very much restructuring, which often can obviously result in insolvency and formal process. But a sort of a high growth, leading, independent UK restructuring and insolvency business, which was very attractive to us. Partly because of what was happening with COVID and the pandemic, we certainly see a building demand for those services as we move forward, unfortunately. Yeah.
So a couple of quick questions about the type of business that you're in. So first of all, your philosophy, you're the chief exec of the group. Is it more about, divide and conquer, let the businesses do their own thing, or are you in the business of, getting cross-pollination going between the companies, getting them all exchanging thoughts, ideas, deals?
The strategy of the acquisitions is very much around buying well-run, well-managed, growing businesses that will benefit from being part of the group, rather than the sort of traditional cashing out and exiting aged shareholders or retirement sales or whatever. So we're looking for businesses that are performing really well in sectors and industries that have synergy with SME world and what we do here. So in terms of moving forward, they have a certain element of autonomy to run and continue to grow and control that business moving forward, but then we're looking for the synergy benefits of them being part of the group. So some of the marketing, the HR, the finance and the functions that we can then cross-pollinate, cross-selling to clients within the group is all an important part.
I'd like to talk about what has been a hugely eventful 18 months.
Indeed.
Brexit, obviously the COVID pandemic. How has that affected the business, and what changes have you had to make as well?
I think historically, through sort of the Brexit and the credit crunch and some of the sort of macro events, our M&A business was reasonably robust. Our business model is such that it's a robust model. A lot of our overhead is linked directly to performance, so it was able to perform pretty well across the cycle. And those events didn't impact hugely. Obviously, COVID came along and was something that was outside of anybody's sphere of experience, but has very much been the catalyst for us to transform our business. So whilst diversification had been on the agenda and had been very much a discussion topic of the board, it was really the onslaught of COVID that was the catalyst for us to go out and do what we've done over the last 18 months.
Yeah, and if we were to look at the sort of deal radar, if you like, particularly over the last 18 months, has that started to sort of dim a lot, or has there been a lot of activity on that board?
Yeah, huge amount of activity. Yeah, I think if we rewind to last March, there was a huge element of uncertainty around the M&A market in general, which drove the acquisitions and the diversification. But at that point, last March, nobody really knew what the short, medium future was for M&A. What we've seen is quite the opposite of that, is that there's been a huge amount of activity both on the sell side and on the buy side, and we've been able to perform exceptionally well. It's actually been a record period for us in terms of the revenues and profits that we've generated, the number of transactions that we've completed.
And can you give us any more of a sort of sense of that? Is that across industries? Have there been any particularly sort of hotspots, if you like, in terms of industry sectors?
I think especially in the last 18 months, sort of tech, online, businesses have been able to take advantage of the changing habits of people through the pandemic, home shopping and all the rest of it, e-commerce. We've seen some businesses in those areas really, really flourish, double, triple, quadruple profits, and therefore values have risen quite significantly in some of those areas. Equally, the leisure, the hospitality, the care, some sectors like that have found it very difficult, as you can understand, and but there's still been activity in those sectors. So whilst values may have been suppressed or whatever, because we work across such a broad church, there's always somebody wanting to sell, there's always somebody wanting to buy, and we've been able to do well out of that.
It hits me very strongly as you say that you're much more than an advisor and a matchmaker. You're also a designer in a sense, aren't you, of what a deal actually looks like?
Our corporate finance and some of our more senior people that are dealing with the more complex transactions, they are shaping deals. They are at times backfilling resource in terms of bringing people at senior level into the business to fill a hole before then going to market, certainly in a private equity type transaction, so trying to complement or strengthen a director team before moving to market.
So now, what's top of the list in terms of challenges facing the group? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think first and foremost probably it's this transition back to a post-COVID or a post-pandemic world, probably, because I don't think we're post-COVID yet, certainly. But it's how we transition the business back, how we learn from some of the lessons of the last 18 months. So as a great example, we had 20 salespeople that would drive around the country seeing 2 clients a day, 50,000 miles a year on the cars. They can now see 3 or 4 clients a day without leaving the front door.
Doesn't something get lost in that missing physical interaction?
What the last 18 months has proven to me is that actually can be done remotely, or certainly an element of it can be done remotely. I think for some of the larger, more complex or certain clients, you have to get out and see them face to face. But we've been able to transition a lot to screen rather than face to face, with huge benefit in terms of the environment, costs, the well-being of our people, customer service standards, etc. Because it's far more efficient to do it that way.
Got it. Other challenges that you see in sort of from the chief exec's chair?
Yeah, I think as we look towards further acquisitions, identifying and transacting deals in the way that we want to do them is certainly a challenge. There's a lot of consolidation and activity going on within the sort of professional services arena in general. So for us to be able to try and find off-market transactions, transact them at the value points that we believe are right, in the structures that we believe are right, and bring people along on that journey with us is quite a challenge.
John, how about in terms of recent developments? What's particularly caught your imaginations, got you thinking?
I think one of the most interesting things for us over the last 18 months has been the use of video conferencing, so Zoom, Teams and similar products, and how that has impacted and changed the way that we run the business. So I may have mentioned before, historically we would go out and talk to 750, 800 SMEs every month through our teams and our sales forces. Driving 50,000 miles a year, each of them seeing 2 clients a day, and they now do a lot of that from home, seeing 3, 4 clients a day, sometimes 5. So we've seen a 7-figure reduction in the amount of miles that we've travelled, huge reduction in rail travel, air travel, business mileage, etc., etc. And the impact of that on on the cost base, on the environment, on our people and their sort of working day, and the efficiencies that it's brought to the clients has been a massive impact on the business. Because we could see what was coming, we developed a sort of an online version of what we would normally do with somebody face to face. So we developed that same ability to present those things in a screen to screen rather than a face to face format.
Without stressing them out with a commute or a journey
and I think a lot of these people, they are business owners, they are running their businesses themselves, so they by definition therefore are extremely busy people. So the ability for them to, I think, put an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours aside rather than perhaps half a day or a full day to do that is actually far more efficient from their point of view as well as our point of view. I think the ability for them to lock themselves away in a room or even from home and to do that in a quiet environment where they can really take on board what's being said it's worked, and our conversion rate of meeting to client win has actually stayed very stable throughout this entire process, which if you'd have asked me that 12 months ago, 2 years ago, I'd have said it's not possible. So it's been a really interesting advancement in how we interact with both prospective and existing clients.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the things which really power the core of the group, and I'm thinking here about CRM in terms of keeping tabs isn't probably the right way to say it, but really complex CRM systems, data management. Just help me understand why that's so important to the business, but also how you keep on top of that as time moves on.
Sure. It's all about the business itself. It's about the contact information of the directors, because obviously from a marketing perspective, we want to be able to reach out to them in different ways. So, whether it be email, whether it be mail, whether it be phone, we want to be able to have multiple points of contact with multiple directors within the company. So that's very important to us, contact information. But equally, financial information on that business is equally as important. So we can look at growing businesses, declining businesses, all of which then feed into the different strands of the company and the group and the different services that we have.
And presumably within that, whether it's artificial intelligence, sort of more complex forms of data mapping, this must be getting sort of more sophisticated all the time.
Our systems are typically proprietary systems that we've built and designed to serve exactly the purpose that we need them to do, and we have one certainly on the front end of the business, which is what we term the sales side of the business, which is called Globe. Thankfully we've been able to replicate Globe across the other companies that we've acquired. So as well as having KBS Globe, we now have Rand Globe and Quantum Globe, and that allows us that those systems can talk to each other, they can share data, which is really important when you're interacting with a data set all the time, and that data set has tens of millions of records within it. You're constantly updating it, adding information to it, suppressing information from it. So the ability of those systems to talk to each other is really crucial.
I'm particularly interested in how technology helps you to make better matches between buyer and seller. So give us a sense of how that's evolved and what's the sort of state of the art, if you like.
Yeah, for us, the sort of technology, the systems that we have are all about trying to improve the client journey and deliver a better result ultimately for the client. So we developed a piece of technology, for example, called BME, quite simply buyer matching engine. And what that does is it replaces the traditional role of the researcher who would spend several days pulling together a list of the companies that might be the best suitor for that particular client's business. And what the system does is it automates, through the use of big data and algorithms, it automates the process of creating the buyer list. And then it also automates the process of actually contacting and putting our client's business in front of those buyers. It's trying to use the data and the technology to do what we do quicker, better, more efficiently, put our client's business in front of more better matched, more appropriate buyers, and therefore ultimately gain more interest in their business, gain better offers, more competitive tension, and achieve a better price for them.
And just a final quick question on data and compliance. Is there any extent to which that becomes more or less challenging now that we've hopefully sailed through the other side of Brexit? Is there a sort of direction on that?
Yeah, GDPR as was, and data protection and the privacy and electronic communications regulations that we have to comply with, because we do a lot of sort of electronic outreach to potential clients, is all really important to us. We certainly welcome the move away from Europe in terms of that legislation being more focused on the UK. But yeah, something that's very much in our minds, something that we need to keep compliant with and make sure we're on the right side of the law. Yeah.
How about sustainability? It's very often easy to think that because you haven't got factories or sort of belching smoke out into the atmosphere that you haven't got to be deeply thoughtful about this. But I know you're going to see it slightly differently.
I mean, when I look at sustainability, the first thing that pops into my mind is sustainability of the business and its economic performance and its financial future, because ultimately that is the business. But yeah, if we look outside of that in terms of sustainability as a whole, I think some of the things we touched on before in terms of the pandemic has really brought some of that to the fore for us, and looking at say million plus miles per year travelled by our people, that's fallen to very low numbers. The trains, the planes, and everything that we used to travel on up and down the land and even overseas at times to see potential clients, buyers, bring transactions together. The way that we've changed in terms of our model and how we harness that change going forward.
Congratulations on being in the listed 50. It's always difficult to distill, one or two of the secrets of your success, but you have performed extremely well. In very broad terms, John, what do you put that down to? Because it's been an extraordinary ride.
I think firstly being focused on the outcomes that we deliver for our clients, because ultimately if you deliver the right outcomes for your clients, what tends to follow from that is the financial performance of the business as well. So we've always tried as a business to be very fair and reasonable and be right by our employees, our stakeholders, our clients, and do things in the right way. I think secondly probably the people that we've surrounded ourselves with. Certainly as we've gone out and acquired and grown the group in more recent times, the quality of the teams and the people that we've brought in, the proprietors of those businesses that we've acquired, we're really building a broader and stronger team of people that can hopefully go on and grow the group significantly in the future. So we're really excited by what lies ahead.
Excellent. Well, we continue to follow your success with great interest. John Rigby, great to meet you.
And you, thank you.
Thank you.